Springer, right?
And welcome to Tuesday. We are back in studio, and we're glad that you are with us. And what a night in New Orleans. And we're going to have all the coverage for you and get your reaction today. That was the headline this morning in The Advocate. Joe Burrow, his hands raised, and the national championship living in Louisiana. That was the front page of the Times-Picayune. And since then, the celebration is on. The LSU Tigers are the national champions. Clemson, no longer the defending champs. Joe Burrow puffing on the stogie. I'm sure there's an NCAA violation there, and who cares? He was absolutely perfect, but by that you pretty well know there's not much more we can add to the legacy of Joey Burrow, but we're going to try. Joey, what about it?
Well, I see you haven't put the ball down, and after you threw your 5th touchdown pass, which set a record for national championships, you pointed to the ring finger. Do you know what size ring you wear?
10.5. We already got fitted for him.
That was pretty confident, and why not? Coach Ogeron said they were going to get it. Anyway, we're here, obviously. Back.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh,
that tiger.
He's back, too. Came in on the bus, and Coach O driving home. He celebrated with some Popeye's chicken last night, as opposed to one of the culinary delights in the quarter. I don't blame him. Okay, one more time. 15-0, 7 wins versus AP top 10 opponents, most in poll history. 726 points, beat each of the top 4 teams in the preseason. The debate is on whether they're the greatest team of all time. They seem like they are to me. Burrow certainly has retired the trophy when it comes to an individual season. Well, here we are. I'd say plenty to talk about today, wouldn't you? Great afternoon, and we don't have too much to clutter the show up other than a couple of guests and your phone calls right here, and you can always get in at 855-242-7285. Ross Dellinger used to work in Baton Rouge covering the Tigers. Now he works for Sports Illustrated. Mark Schlabach with his way too early top 25. Expect to see some familiar names in there, and Ryan McGee. But I mentioned your phone calls. And let's begin with the leadoff batter for the program today. Augie is up next in New Orleans.
Paul, glad to see you make it back. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It was an eventful couple of days in the Big Easy, and last night was an all-timer.
Well, Paul, I guess we beat little old Clemson, didn't we?
Yes, you did.
Well, do you think now it's time for all those Clemsonites to discover and explore the wonders of the ACC network?
Well, listen, I flew back with a lot of Clemsonites today, and they looked pretty worn down. But yeah, I'm not here to bury Clemson. I'm here to celebrate LSU.
Well, I'm here to bury them too. So, but Paul, we talked about this yesterday, that the aura of Nick Saban was a ghost that was just hanging around LSU since he jilted us for the NFL, only to come back to live in the house of our most hated enemy. And even though Les Miles won a national championship, he did it with the fingerprints of Nick Saban all over that crystal ball. But now, 10 years later, time has passed. Saban's leftover fairy dust is long gone. Ed O has imprinted his culture on LSU, and I think it's about time that we can say Nick Saban has been excised. As you can tell, he is in our mind, but the king is dead. Long live the king. Paul, have you ever seen a Venables defense so vulnerable?
No, and I felt before the game that we were paying too much attention to Brent Venables and not enough to Dave Aranda, and I think Aranda acquitted himself quite nicely. I think we get stuck on cliches sometimes, Augie, and Venables this and Venables that, but there was nothing special about what he did last night. Of course, he really was in the company of everyone else this year, unable, I should say, to stop Joe Burrows?
Well, let's go back to this question that you've been asked a number of times, and I want you to reconsider it. After you saw last night, where would you rank Clemson in the SEC? Would they have gone undefeated?
Maybe not.
Outside of LSU.
Yeah, I said Friday I thought they would, but as I think about LSU's schedule, and then all I can do is give them LSU's schedule. That's the only fair way to do it. They could have tripped up at Alabama, and maybe I don't know where else they could have lost though this year, because LSU's most of their the other difficult games were at home. And by that I mean Auburn, Mississippi State, not A&M. I can't imagine them having lost at Mississippi State. So, Texas, you don't know, maybe second game of the season, but I would say I would say the Alabama game would have been the challenge.
In the annals of college football history, how do you rank O's transformation of LSU?
I've never seen anything like it, because, I frankly, and I said this earlier, to me, this just looks like the greatest season ever. And, I get the Miami yabbers coming at me with all the names on their team. Well, we're talking about this year. Miami didn't have this type of a challenge in 01. LSU did. They had so many challenges, so many pitfalls, and they passed every test.
Well, I can say this. LSU, I think, I don't know if they've ever been prouder in terms of football. I know they talk about 59. Well, I wasn't quite around for 59. No. But compared to the other two that I've witnessed, this by far is the biggest and the best. And like I think Squirrel said, he was pulling against us because he didn't want to hear from us for the rest of the year. Well, guess what? Now until a new champion's crowned, you're going to hear from us. Paul, thanks a lot, and you look great on TV. Go Tigers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Andre is up next. What do you say, Andre?
How sweet it is, Coach. How sweet it is. Hold that Tiger, Coach.
You got it.
Hold that Tiger. Listen, Coach, I'm not here to gloat. I thought Dabo Swinney gave a gracious speech about losing, because in order to be a great winner, you also have to be a great loser, and you also have to be a humble person. And anyone that thinks that Clemson or Alabama is going to fade away, you're not paying very close attention to recruiting and recruiting rankings. But, Coach, LSU has always had this type of talent, but for some reason, Les Miles just was, he was stuck with the old rotary phone. He didn't want to come into the 21st century and get you one of these new iPhones. He wanted to play 1959 football. I don't know why, and maybe one day you could interview him and ask him why he did that. But you know what, Coach, it's good to be champion. And have you heard from the Ohio State fan from Chicago yet? What the guy?
No, you're only the second caller of the day, so we have not heard much.
What about the lady that used to call the LSU fan, Anna from Cleveland? We haven't heard from her in a couple of years, have we, Coach?
No, a lot of callers have moved on. I don't know why or for what, or to where, but they've gone.
Hey, Coach, you know what? It was a great game. We're very fortunate to come out on the winning side, and I'm very thankful, but also I'm very humble because, what goes around comes around. Hey, thanks for taking my call, Coach Finebaum.
Thank you. Great to have you on. Phyllis is in Kentucky. Phyllis, great to have you here as well.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to say today, I'm in a couple of groups, and one of them is a Clemson LSU Smack Talk. And in every group, you have gracious people and crass people. And for the most part, after the game last night, Clemson people were very gracious. You did have some crass people. Like LSU, we have some crass people. But today, I am basking in the glow of this victory. I don't know if you remember, I called you back in August, and I told you who I thought two people would be in the college playoff, and that was LSU and Oklahoma. And I'm just this big mama, for once, I got it right, and I'm just basking in the glow of it. But I wanted to ask you this question. I read that ESPN's power rankings came out today, and they have LSU ranked number 3 in the season. Do you think that's because of the way the defense performed at the beginning of the season?
You know, Phyllis, I don't care whether it's ESPN or anybody else. I've never given 2 rips about a power ranking. And whether it's ESPN's or the next organization. And quite frankly, anyone who would care about a ranking after a season when there's a national champion is just simply looking for something to get upset about.
Oh, yeah, I thought maybe they were just looking for something to print, to get readership or whatever. But I wanted to say to you, thank you so much this season for taking my calls and letting me voice my opinion. And I will call you back at the beginning of July when the season's really starting to kind of get going again. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Phyllis. Great to have you on.
For giving a great show.
I really appreciate it. Nice of you to call. We're heading to a break. A lot to do on the program. We will work in some guests, but mainly your phone calls at 855-242-7285. The day after, right here, right now. Kentucky at South Carolina. That game is tomorrow night, and we hope you'll stick around and watch it. One of the more intriguing games of the early SEC season right here. Final AP poll is out. LSU, Clemson. You knew that would be the case, and probably had to guess Ohio State would be number 3. Oklahoma took quite a drop. Georgia, in spite of a rather lackluster finish in the SEC title game, even though they got the Baylor win, ends up number 4. Oregon all the way up to 5. That Auburn game cost them dearly. Florida at 6. How about that? OU. Bama at 8. Lowest finish since 2010. And Auburn at 14. Texas finishes 25th. Why, I do not know. No reason in the world why Texas is a top 25 team. Danny?
They're back. They're back in. They're
back in top 25.
Yep.
They're
About as back as they'll get.
They'll be haunted by that Sam Ellinger comment for a few years, I think. Paul, here's my question. The final numbers are out. I think it's kind of intriguing that Florida finished ahead of Alabama. Definitely want to hear you talk about that with some callers as the show goes on. But while we're here, as we start this show, you were in New Orleans yesterday, right?
It seems like I was, now that I remember.
Mark Kubiak was in New Orleans yesterday, right?
Cubes was in New Orleans, yes.
So you're
back today.
Where's Coops?
He's got a better deal than I do, obviously.
Is he possibly on somewhere passed out in the French Quarter, just being dragged by a street sweeper somewhere? I don't know.
Listen, I run into this every year of the night, and by the way, this was the easiest get back I've had in a while. Last year, leaving San Francisco at 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning was more difficult. But I mean, you have to be back for the day after the national championship game, don't you?
Right. I mean,
where are you, Coops?
These are the calls we want to hear from. People wait all year for these calls. Hannah, this is your first
you got to remember,
show.
Mark had to fly down on Sunday.
So we can expect him back in 3 days, is what you're telling me.
Welcome back. Great to have you here. And Greg is up next.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. I was watching the game last night, and they had this camera go to Brent Venables in the third quarter, and he had this look on his face that said to me that he knew that what they were doing wasn't working and it wasn't going to work. And I had a friend of mine chiming in to me last night, Ohio State fan, and I said, well, LSU is a lot of things, but they are not Ohio State. And once they allowed Joe Burrow to find his rhythm, there was no stopping them. They could not disrupt him enough to cause them to falter. And so I wouldn't say it was preordained, but everybody knew that the key to victory last night was who could get to the quarterback the most and disrupt their offense, and that's what happened.
Correct.
Yeah, so they earned it. LSU went all out this year, and you and I talked during the media days, and everybody was talking about how they were telling everybody this offense was going to be different. And, of course, we've heard that every year, and then this year it actually came to fruition. And so I hope they enjoy it, because as hard as it is to get there, it's even more difficult to sustain it. And so those fans that call in all the time, like Augie and some of those others, need to treasure this moment because nothing in life is guaranteed beyond today. And so I want to congratulate Coach Orgeron and those guys, because they had an excellent game plan. They adapted and adjusted when Clemson was unwilling or unable to. And so what this does now going forward for LSU is they no longer have to rely just on the defense to stay in the chase for the SEC. They now have an offensive plan as long as they have the right players, Paul.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
Great to have you on. Murdoch in California is up next. Hello, Murdoch.
Hello, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. I just listened to that last caller. I've been listening to the show since it began.
Thank you.
Fantastic job by LSU. I happen to be an LSU fan. I'm from Louisiana, and I'm not a sports analyst, but I tell you, I think the coaching is what won that game. It's not only the players, but it's the way that they respond to adversity, both in coaching and the offensive and defensive talents involved. Like I say, fantastic job. I watched that. At the first of the game, they tried to control the clock. And it didn't work out. It started collapsing, kind of, but the way they adjusted was just phenomenal.
Thank you very, very much, Murdoch. Really appreciate you calling. Let's continue with more calls. Brent is in Huntsville, Alabama. Hello, Brent.
Hey, Paul. Hey, there's a Facebook video going around of Odell Beckham Jr. handing out cash to LSU players. Have you seen that? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it was fake cash. I wouldn't get too upset about it.
Really? Oh, okay. All right, then.
Yeah, good
Appreciate
try.
it.
Alabama fan trying to nail LSU with probation. Christian is up next in Florida. Hello, Christian. Nice of you to call.
Hey, Paul. How's it going, Paul?
It's going great. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a pretty good game last night. First off, this is coming from an Alabama fan. I got nothing but, just love and respect for LSU. I know it's a rivalry and all that, but they're just – the success that Coach O has had since he got the job is just incredible. And I'll tell you this real quick. Obviously, Bama fans don't want to get rid of Nick Saban. That would be a stupid thing to say, but when there's going to be a day where Nick Saban's no longer with Alabama, and if I had to pick any coach to run the program, if it was up to me, I'd take Coach O. I think he's a great coach.
Well, Christian, let's be real here, okay?
Yeah.
Coach O is a great coach, but he's great at LSU.
Right. And I know he wouldn't take the job, but
Christian, one thing we try to do here is keep things real. And talking about Coach O replacing Nick Saban is unreal. Thank you for the call, though. I told myself I'm going to behave today. I'm going to let everybody have their say, unless they go over the the rail and need to have a straitjacket put on them. Hayden is up next. Hello, Hayden.
Paul, what's up, my man? How you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for the call.
Nice to be back on the show, man. I love it. So personally, I know it's kind of really early, but I saw where Clemson had the best odds to win it all next year, and I wanted to get your take. Who do you think's gonna do you have a top 4 for next year? Or
well, I mean, no. I could give you one without giving it much thought, which I promise you I have not. But I would throw Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU in my top 4.
All right, can I share mine with you?
I would hope you would. Yes.
All right, I was gonna go Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, and Florida.
Okay, well, that's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, anyone who brings Oklahoma into their top 4 will immediately be hung up on. I don't ever want to hear Oklahoma's name on this program again. Neil is up next. Hello, Neil. You are next up on the air.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
We are well, thank you.
Well, the SEC is back.
Yes, they are.
I was real proud of LSU beating the pants off of Clemson.
You know, I thought it was cool. I mean, they had the 17-point lead. They could have turned it into 24. They said, for what? Why do we need to add another touchdown?
They kept them from having a dynasty, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought that was cool because it seems like Clemson was running it in. Maybe they did, not at the end of the game, but 24-17, it really doesn't make any difference. It was a beatdown.
Well, this next football season is going to be fantastic. I'm glad to see the competition coming back in the SEC.
We're a couple hours removed from the 2019. I'm going to take a break for at least for a couple of minutes before we get to next season. Hey, thank you for the call. Really do appreciate it. Winston is in Louisiana.
Hello.
Hey, Winston.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
We are well, thank you.
I was looking for you at Red Eye yesterday. I didn't see you.
I was the guy in the back. I had an Odell Beckham toboggan on.
Well,
I was handing out money.
Somebody heard a call there, so they heard the call from Friday, and I ended up getting a lot of free stuff from over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now where were you again yesterday?
I was in New Orleans at Red Eye.
Oh, Red Eye, okay. Now I was at Walk-Ons in the Golick and Wingo, but I never made it to where is Red Eye?
It's like downtown. It's kind of close to the French Quarter, but
okay. Well, I was staying across the street from the French Quarter, so I probably could have been there if you'd let me know. I mean, after the game last night, I was desperately looking for a bar to hang out. I couldn't find one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, didn't seem like any bars were open. Hey, I'll tell you what. At 5:20 this morning, I got in a car to go to the airport, and there were people still walking the streets of downtown New Orleans.
Yeah, I believe it. But I just wanted to
I did not want to get anywhere near those people, but fortunately I was locked in a car.
I wouldn't either.
I said, put the windows up and lock the blanking door.
It can be a scary place.
Almost said something terrible.
I mean, it was just so much fun yesterday. And
so what did you do all day? Take us through your day.
All right, so I think I probably got to New Orleans at about 2:00, and then we got locked inside the apartment, and then we finally made it out because the door handle fell off.
Okay.
And then we just had fun around the French Quarter.
Did you go to? So you went to different places, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But
where did you watch the game?
We finally made it back. We watched the game. I don't even know the name of one place, and then we just went back to the Red Eye place and just finished off there. It was just a lot of LSU students. It was as close as you could get to being at the game without actually being at the game.
It had to be amazing.
It was so much fun, and it was just such a great environment to watch the game with a lot of LSU students, and it was just a great time, and I think everybody's just so happy that LSU came through.
What time did you finally shut it down, Winston?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I ended up going into the French Quarter on Bourbon Street later on, and then made it back eventually. And
but you're not sure how.
I walked.
I will tell you, Winston. I remember my first trip to New Orleans. I was 17 years old, my senior year in college, and I remember going out, but I don't remember coming back. And now every single memory of New Orleans is the same. We are going to take a break. More of your calls. It's free-flowing Tuesday here. Tell the truth Tuesday. How did you celebrate the Tigers win? We're back after this.
First couple of series, I didn't think there was any way that they were just going to play man with Jamar, so I wasn't really looking his way. And then I got back to the sideline after the second drive. I was like, they really are playing man-to-man with Jamar. So we started going to him heavy, and I mean, he played so well, and that's just the kind of guy that he is. He's worked so hard for that. All of our guys. Feels good. I don't know what else to say. I mean, there's been so many people that have come into this, from people that have helped me along my journey from Ohio, Louisiana, everywhere. And we couldn't have done it with a better group of guys. Not just football players, but great men that I just feel blessed to be a part of this. Yeah, that was, we felt like if we had got that one, we would have been rolling on that first drive, and we would have kept rolling. And it did kind of take the wind out of our sails for a second, and defense stepped up all game until we started to get rolling. And, we feel like you can't hold us down forever. I think we're too explosive. Our coaches are too good. Our players are too good. Our O-line is too good. And, they had a great plan coming in. Like I said, Coach Venables is great at what he does, and it just took us a while to get it figured out. Some pretty good emotions. This is special. This doesn't happen. This doesn't come around every year. This is a special group of guys that really came together, and it's as close of a group that I've ever been around. I'm just so happy I was able to do it with Coach O, Patrick, and the rest of the guys in that locker room. Not yet. We're still celebrating. Give us a couple days. We got tonight. We got the rest of this week. We're gonna enjoy this one. A lot of work was put into this that nobody ever saw. Saturdays, Sundays, 7 days a week for 12 months. This is special.
Glad you're here, and more of your calls at 855-242-7285, and we will include some very important guests. And let's talk to Roy up next in Louisiana. Hello, Roy.
How you doing, Paul?
We're doing great, thank you.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank God for the transfer portal.
You're right.
If it wasn't for that, hats off to Joe Burrow for taking advantage of it and doing it. If he wouldn't have done it, where would this boy be? He would have never played for Ohio. He would have graduated and went on to be something else, somewhere else. To say he's got to go to Cincinnati, boo-hoo, but maybe he can prove something and make it bigger and better for him. Hats off to him. And what do you see as the future for next year with LSU if they can stay in
Well,
this portal?
it's interesting. The quarterback from Houston, King, who was so good and after 4 games walked out of there saying he was going to come back next year, which no one believed. He's in the portal as of last night. People have speculated he's looking at Arkansas, could look at LSU. I think LSU is in really good shape. I mean, most of the key players are coming back. Hey, thanks for the call. Fred. Good afternoon, Fred.
Paul Finebaum. Brother, go Tigers. It is a wonderful day. A wonderful day, my man.
It is.
Paul, I tell you, there's just really one theme I want to get across that I don't want the day to go by without it coming across. And I have to give Ross Dellinger out of Louisiana. He's a fantastic writer. You know him. He's with Sports Illustrated now.
Yeah, he'll be with us in a couple of minutes.
He wrote, I tell you what, brother, be sure, and I know you will, hell, why am I telling you this? You're the guy who's been doing this for 115 years. I'm just kidding, maybe 110. But that article he wrote about Coach O in his hometown and the hope that he was given to all of the state, but particularly the areas where the oil boom has turned bust, where the oyster fields have been devastated by the BP and the oil spill a few years back, and how there's that pride that people feel from Louisiana for him. And his mom said it best, people feel like he's their brother, their cousin, their neighbor, because he is.
Yeah, I don't know
Louisiana.
if everyone saw it. His mom was at our show yesterday for a while, and she was right there in the first row behind us. Unfortunately, we couldn't. We were trying to get her up, but we didn't want to put her in an awkward position. But she was having a great time yesterday.
Well, Paul, I'll tell you, she's a whip. That's all I can say. But the one thing in here that I want to get across, and you've touched on it on your show a little bit, but Coach O, the fact that people didn't think he would fit in at USC, the country club mentality, thinking that the guy is dumb because he has a heavy, thick Cajun accent, that stuff just burns me up. And you don't have to be Cajun. You can be anybody from the South. And if you've experienced it before, where somebody thinks because you talk a little bit slower, which only means that we take a little bit more time to think about what we're saying than people who don't live in the South, my point of view. But people want to put that, they want to stereotype you. And, Paul, it all goes back to history. It's always history. And you know this. Back in 1921, the Louisiana Constitution was changed, which banned the speaking of French, the Cajun French in schools. And it was to anglicize the state so that they could be a part of the military and part of commerce and trade. But it made Cajun children feel punished for speaking French at school because that's exactly what happened. And all throughout our history in our state, it's been a love affair, hate affair with our Cajun culture. And it's popular now, and it's been popular since the 60s, and people recognize the tourism and the trade value of it. But that's that little nugget I wanted to give you in terms of why we are so proud of him, a native born, somebody to lead the flagship of our university, somebody who has impeccable character. And you know him better than I do. I've yet to shake his hand, but if he was here, I'd shake him, brother, and I'd tell him right now, brother, I love you. You're representing us as well as you can. Because, Paul, I grew up on the bayou. I know what it's like to have oyster shells in the driveway, to have the water truck come twice a week to dump out water to keep dust from coming through the screen doors. And people across Louisiana know what that feels like. And they're not laughing now, Paul. They're not laughing. It's early Mardi Gras, Paul. And, Paul, you and Coach Ed Orgeron are great Americans today. Lazily, Baltimore Roulette. Love you, brother. Love you, SEC. Love you, Cajun Nation.
Thank you so much. Great call. Greg in Dallas, Texas.
Hello.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going great.
Oh, man, I just wanted to tell you I appreciate you for being a sponsor and for the SEC, and
thank you.
Man, it's just a great day to be a Tiger fan.
It is. It's fantastic.
Louisiana. Man, at the start of the season, nobody suspected that we would come this far.
No.
Nobody had us on the radar to have a Heisman winning trophy quarterback. People kept shooting them down, and those boys kept playing. And man, I'm really proud of them, and there's a lot of people that, wasn't in support of LSU for everything they've accomplished, everything that we've gone through, all of the losses to Alabama, and, to be where we are today, man, it's just a blessing to be a Louisianian, and I'm just proud of those boys from down there in Baton Rouge. So go Tigers, and Coach O, we loved you, and we appreciate everything. And Mr. Finebaum, we appreciate you for being a representative of the SEC and keeping those other conferences in their place, from Big 12 to ACC to all the way down. We appreciate you for putting them in their place.
Well, it's my pleasure. Hey, thank you. By the way, I was just curious with all the preseason conversation. I just looked up the AP Top 25, which came out in August. And it's pretty interesting. Clemson, number 1. They finished number 2. Alabama, number 2. They finished number 8. Georgia, number 3. They finished number 4. Oklahoma, number 4. Where did they finish? 7th? Ohio State, number 5. They finished number 3. LSU, 6th. They finished number 1. I mean, the top 6, pretty accurate. I mean, they all finished in the top 8. And then we got Michigan. They kind of blew the trend. And then Florida was 8, and they finished 6. So it was a very, usually there's a, I mean, LSU was a surprise winner, but they were still a preseason number 6. Hey, thank you for the call. We're heading to a break. More of your calls. Ross Dellinger coming up here at the top of the hour.
This has got to be Calebon. It's 30-12. And so you did the double swim on him, and you got pressure. Yeah. Trevor overthrew it. And he was like, that's the crucial rush.
Hey, to that
had
point,
him freaking out.
To that point, Tim, he could tell you, man, he like a little brother to me. And I'm hard on him. And am I? I'm very hard on him. And you know how I am. I'll send him a message and curse him out or tell him he needs to do this and don't run straight up the field, take an angle at the back foot. Man, listen, you just won a national championship. LSU has been, since 2011, hasn't been in this game. And now you have all of these things working for you. Did you feel any pressure before this game to say we can't go 14-0 and not finish here in New Orleans?
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not even going to front, man. Especially with the professional team of the state that kind of went out the way they didn't want to go. So really, all the pressure was on us. The whole state was dependent on us, and it was just something that was meant to be. Like I said, we are not home state, home crowd advantage, and we had to come out with the win.
Calebon, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to bring Jamar Chase in here as well and see if we can get a mic down there.
Good job.
Here, pass this down. He's got one.
Oh,
Perfect.
Congrats,
Jamar,
baby.
what's up?
All right, I knew. Hey, they asked before the game.
Let me hold the rod for it. I'm going to give it back, I promise.
They ain't going to give that back. Hey, they said before the game. I said, watch, Jamar's going to have a night. You had a night tonight. You had 150 in the first half, yes, bro. How was that? What did it feel like now to take that game over the way you did, connect on some of those deep balls down the right sideline?
Give him the different mic.
Hold on, we got to get you a mic.
There we go. We got action.
We played a lot of man out there today. You know, we didn't get that much this year. So when we got the chance to take care of it, we did that job.
Honestly, what did you think though when over and over and over again they're playing you man coverage, not giving safety help? This is my day?
What can I say? I should be looking at my chops right there.
There was one late. You were in a slot. They were pressed on you. You swung them inside. You had them by about 8 yards. Yeah. You about lost it like that. He threw one, I think it was left.
It was.
When you don't get one like that, what do you say to Joe? You got to mess with him?
I go back to him and tell him, you missed me probably, but you come back to it later. I mean, you don't rush it, but
you killed him off the line that time, though.
Yeah. Hey, I ain't trying to be that quick. I didn't know I had it that quick, to be honest.
You almost had another one.
Yeah. I could have had 4.
Did Joe say anything to you after that one?
Nah. What happened was the ball was too far left. I should have just went up and got it with 2 hands like that instead of letting it fall.
Welcome back. We are here on this Tuesday afternoon, the day after the national championship game. Jimmy's up in Chicago, and welcome to the program, Jimmy.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Well, you just mentioned LSU beating the number 1 through number 5 ranked preseason ranked teams, which I don't know if any other team's ever done that in the season. And also, do you ever recall another team that beat 5 different 11-win teams in the same season? It's just truly a remarkable year, and they have to be ranked up there among the greatest all-time teams. But I really think they're the best offense I've ever seen in college football. Would you put them up there?
There's no debate. I mean, the defense is why some people do not believe they're the best team ever, but I thought the defense, when it really mattered, looked pretty good down the stretch.
Well, golly, how far did they come since that Ole Miss game?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think it's ridiculous when people throw stats up about their defense. I mean, grade LSU. I mean, you have to throw the Alabama game in there, obviously, but grade them on what they did in the second half of the season. And outside of Alabama and Ole Miss, they shut everyone down the final 5 weeks, five games. Yeah,
and I think people tend to forget that was a great Alabama offense.
Oh, well, that was the greatest Alabama offense we ever saw until LSU showed up.
Yeah, and now you look back on it, don't you think now just what an incredible game that was?
Yeah, no doubt.
With all the hype, and they just lived up to it. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, because you talked to a lot of LSU people and all that, but I don't know if the inside stories ever come out on when Coach O first became aware of Joe Brady, or if he'd met him at a camp or something, a coaching clinic a long time ago, or when did he find out about him, and when did this process start?
Yeah, I have heard the story, and I know that Brady came up for like a weekend, like one of these, your staff goes to our staff and back and forth, and I have to go back and double check. Someone, whether it was O or someone else, I mean, the Saints and LSU obviously are fairly close together, and I just think it was a collaborative situation.
Yeah, and then finally, Joe Burrow. I mean, what he accomplished. I'd always thought until this season that maybe Cam Newton had possibly the best single quarterback season I'd ever seen in college football, but Joe Burrow has absolutely retired this trophy. But what made it so amazing to me was that, for 3 years, when he redshirted his freshman year at Ohio State and threw like 40 passes the next 2 years, he'd basically gone 3 full seasons without playing significant snaps at all at the FBS level. And then I think you remember in training camp, right after he was named the starter, there were 2 other quarterbacks that left like the next day, and you had a couple of LSU beat writers coming on wondering, hey, is this program falling apart? And then he just worked from, every day to get better. And when you hadn't played in that long, you're going to struggle for a little bit. And then by, I guess, the UCF game last year, that's when everybody realized, hey, this guy's ready to roll. But just to be able to do that from that long not playing, and then to have the season he had, and then the Heisman Trophy presentation, greatest speech ever. I mean, it really was just been an amazing, amazing year.
Jimmy, thank you. Marty is in Louisiana. Hello, Marty.
Hey, Paul, how are you doing?
We are doing well, thank you.
I'm the realest fan that called you right before the Alabama game, and I asked you, did we have a chance? And you said, yeah, you do believe it, Marty, and I believe it. And that Greg that called from Athens, Alabama, saying that it's so hard to, well, we have 364 days to celebrate to the next champion. And we are the champion now. And Alabama's going to be fine. Everybody's going to be fine. We lose Burrow. They lose Tua. And they got a good quarterback coming, but this will indeed help Coach O with the recruiting. This year is when it will show up, 2021. But we're going to be fine, and appreciate all you do for the SEC. And it was a great joy watching this show all year long with the Tigers 15-0. And let's celebrate. And one thing for the smug legend, kiss the ring.
I like that. Kiss the ring. And I about used a terrible word that he would have used.
Thanks, Paul.
Hey, Marty, thank you. And I have to thank, I met so many people in Louisiana over the weekend, LSU fans, Clemson fans as well, who came up thanking all of us here for this show. Listen, I mean, we love doing it, and we appreciate you for participating. And it's listen, nice to have a new conversation, and we have it.